flag back up in the sky. Me never want to see you wrestling. You right tell me want to see you wrestling. I want to see smoke must come in off your skin. You right tell you? Two things me protect son. Black man and zinc shit. You right telling you? I want to see the same must cast by time today done. Watch he. Watch he. He hiding from sun. Running and hiding from sun. I can't believe this shit. I always remember they say, so two things me protect rain and sun. Black man and zinc shit. When sun shine for you, it reflect back up in the sky.
Comes out your son. You burn the swine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes, I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
You can keep your conniving money. When you've been up for a bum, in a biz there'll be money. Now because your money done, you come with conniving money. When you had your pocket full, in a biz there'll be money. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me money. Yes, money, neighbor. Money, neighbor, money. Money, neighbor, money. Money, now know what you conniving money. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. This is all the money that me walk for. I said money, neighbor. Money, neighbor, money. Money, neighbor, money. Money, I don't want you conniving money. Oh, Joseph.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in the Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Comes TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruption over land and sea, where the wicked politicians they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see. Sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, which Jah has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese morning time, the people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, they got Breakford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam, Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London, Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews, big up Paslow, Port People Governor, Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson, Hampton Green and Winston Jordan, and yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time, the people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndham Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop, located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat Section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T&W Harris Butcher Shop, for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Them not like me, conniving morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is now, what time, Mike? 12 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour on the 26th day of June in the year 2024. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Welcome to the program. How are you? How are you been? How are you doing? How was I here yesterday? How was I here last night? Last night, it rained a lot last night. As a matter of fact, it rained into the morning. We're still having light showers here in Buxton. I'm not sure what is happening in your neck of the woods, but I rather suspect it's raining there too. You can tell us what's happening in your neck of the woods. You can also tell us if you have any floods anywhere, if there's any emergency that you need the government to address, and so on and so forth, because we are here for you and we represent you in this program. And so if you have any emergency, rest assured we'll mention it in this program. And the hope is that the likes of those who you know who come on the program every morning to defend the government will at least communicate to them that, hey, Area A is flooding, Area B is flooding, Area C is flooding, a road is broken, we're at Area D, and so on and so forth. Because given the poor quality of infrastructure in this country, when it rains a little above the normal, if you can call it that, when it rains for an extended period, you expect all of these things will happen. I noticed Linden has its fair share of disaster, if I can call it that. Lots of flooding is taking place in Linden. The people at Peters Hall had their fair share and perhaps continue to have their troubles with water because of the construction that's taking place there. And I dare say the spitefulness of the powers that be. Every time it rains, or as I like to say, every time the rain smiles, the people at Peters Hall are now getting flood conditions because the waterways are blocked, the drainages are blocked, and so on, and so the water rises quickly. But let's know what's happening in your neck of the woods. I thought it this morning, it crossed my mind. And the thought came to me because somebody sent something to me. I want to caution as man to man, and when I say man to man, I mean simply meaning human to human. Regardless of our contestations, regardless of the competition, regardless of what the challenges are, regardless of our battles, our fights, or contests, one thing I want to encourage us to remember is at the end of the day, we are human beings. At the end of the day, our opponents are human beings. At the end of the day, we have families. Our opponents have families. At the end of the day, we are expected to coexist in this society of ours. And while they say two mountains don't meet, two men will always meet, or the possibility will always exist for two men to meet. And so keep in mind, in all of the challenges that you enter into, all of the contests you enter into, those things. And so in fighting your battles, in confronting your opponent, let me say, keep it at the forefront of your mind that human relations are important. And positive human relations above all will make a difference in the society, in your homes, in the world that you live in. You don't have to bury anybody and mud anybody on the filth. Likewise, nobody has a right to do it to you simply because you're contesting for a political or other office. What we're seeing playing out on the national scene in this contest of leadership in the PNC is just an example of the challenges many of us face on a daily basis, even in the workplaces. Because somebody believes that, hey, I better deserve that position than the other person. Fight for the position on merit. Fight for the position on merit. What can you do differently? Not character assassination. Okay? We all are human beings. We will err along the way. You don't necessarily have to use somebody's humanity to win over them. Use your positive attributes, what you can bring to the table as your rallying cry. It's Wednesday. Dr. Hines is in the house. Dr. Hines, welcome to the program. How you doing?
I'm all right.
Your volume is a bit low. I don't know if you're fighting the mic or the mic run from you.
I'm always suspicious when people say my volume is low because I have a voice that is a microphone itself. Is it better now?
Yes, sometimes we have that voice that is a microphone, but we are afraid to use it before they say we are loud and we are raucous and we are ill-mannered and we are uncultured and all of that. Sometimes we have big voices, but we dumb ourselves down because of society's.
Not me.
I'm happy to know it's not you. Oh, you're the boy. What's going on? A lot happening in the society. Yeah? I know.
If that were not so, it wouldn't be a society.
I agree. I know you're following the cricketing thing. What's the latest, boy? What's going on with the cricket? I mean, I don't follow, but I still have a little interest here and there.
That dereliction of duty. You don't follow cricket, dereliction of duty.
I used to love cricket, but then I came to the point of thinking that, hey, this is a waste time because the West Indies the West Indies, of course, has so much heartbreak over the years. My heart muscles are for something.
The West Indies cricketers are recruited from our ranks, you know.
Uh-huh.
They're not alien to us, you know. So whatever critique we have of them is really a critique of ourselves and our society. You know, if one were to follow the Jamesian thesis of cricket, that it goes beyond the boundary. So to understand cricket is not just to really understand what's happening on the field of play, but also what happens beyond the field of play.
I agree.
But, the West Indies they've been knocked out of the tournament. They didn't make the semifinals. So yeah, there's lots of broken hearts, but you know, that's the way things are. I remember as a boy going to school and we used to, we had a literature book that was called The Sun's Eye. And there was a poem there by Edward Campbell Raffet, Braithwaite the Barbadian called him. He was born Barbadian, lived in Jamaica. His wife was from Guyana. And he's one of the finest poets that we have produced in a generation of fine poets. And he had a poem that was called, you know, when the side is done, not a man to hold up the side. And I remember as a 10, 11-year-old lapping up that poem. I later learned it was about a match in 1960, West Indies versus England. So no, cricket heartaches is not today's story, you know. It's just that between the 1970s and 1990s, so 20 years, we dominated the cricket world. And losing was not an option during that time. And so an entire generation of West Indians, or 2 generations of West Indians, have been, in a sense, weaned on that. And a lot of us have not shaken off that. We expect to win and keep winning and keep winning and keep winning. And so we've been losing for the last 30 years, and we still can't get used to the fact that, you know, the 20 years of glory are gone. The society has moved on. The West Indies nation has moved on. And the cricket has always reflected where the nation is.
Yeah, so is it that we have, to use your thesis, is it we have a nation of failures? Why for the last 30 years?
Not really. Not really. I mean, the people who play cricket now have different interests. There's more individualism now than there was ever in our cricket. And it's a reflection of where our society is. I mean, you know, the logic of independence means that we are releasing more and more of our people from abject poverty. We still have tremendous poverty, but individuals from the rank of the poor have been able to use things like education, sports, cricket, for upward mobility. And while cricket is a team sport, it's still individuals who make up that team. And so the kind of individualism that has crept into West Indian society over the last 30 years, when you couple that with the fact that there's now more money in cricket than there ever was, it means therefore that the options that our cricketers have are more than just playing for the nation. Their priorities are different. And so in a sense, whereas generations before played for the nation, they played for the nation, our cricketers today, the nation is only part of their priority. They have other priorities, and the society, I don't think, has caught, well, our cricket mind has not caught up with that yet. And some of us wrestle with it every day. Some of us wrestle with it every day. And it's not just in cricket. You know, we see it in other areas of life where individuals triumph, whether it's in art, you know, whether it's in business. We see wherever individuals have an opportunity to rise above the pack, they tend to become much more individualistic and tend to feel that their talents and their outputs are of their own doing. And so there's not that social consciousness that was there 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years, because that's all we had. That's all we had. I mean, social consciousness, political consciousness. That's all. Today, like I said, our young people have much more priorities. And since we are on a political program, there's a way in which this government is in a sense pimping on that individualism, that yearning on the part of individuals, that feeling on the part of individuals that it is because of me. This government is taking advantage of it in a terrible way, especially that relate to African Guyanese. You know, more and more as young people are becoming more individualistic and seeking their individual fortune, this government is using money and using the state as a means of not channeling that energy in a conscious way, in a real constructive way. They're really encouraging young people to channel it in a most destructive way, because you're saying to them, look, if you can go kill a man, if you can go and poison your own people for $1 million, you know, we got 10 million to give you. And that is what I mean by, you know, channeling that urge on our young people to be more individualistic, channeling it in a destructive rather than constructive way. I have no problem with individualism. It has always been there. Like I said, you know, as we move from plantation to nation, we couldn't build a nation as individuals. We had to build it as a collective. we had to build a nation as a people. And so the instinct, that collective instinct, that nationalistic instinct kicked in as we moved into independence. But as we move further away from the moment of independence, and the society begins to go in different directions, the logic means that there are times when individualism will trump collectivism, and we are in that era right now. And it's not about criticizing individualism. It is about how you take individualism and channel it in constructive ways. And one of my big worries with this government is that it is channeling that individualism in the most destructive way. And you know, we started with cricket, and I think there was a time, I mean, when you were a young person, you were a cricketer, but you were other things, you know. If you're coming of age in the 70s, you're listening to Bob Marley, you're listening to conscious music. And so when you go out in that cricket field, as Viv Richards would do, you're going out there with a consciousness, you know, Rastafarianism is in your mind. You know, the nation, the people, they're there, you know that this is about your nation. As we move further and further away, and as informal education doesn't do what it used to do 20 years ago, and our formal education system has not become nationalistic, we are graduating young people to become cricketers, to become athletes, to become doctors, to become lawyers, to become business people. We are graduating them without a sense of national consciousness. And then we expect them to act on behalf of the nation. No. You have to groom them, and you have to socialize them. And they are agents of socialization, the family, the community, education, religion. Those are important aspects of socialization. Perhaps education is the most important aspect. And while we are now reading, you know, our education is based on output from our own people. So whereas you read Shakespeare 40, 50 years ago, now you're reading our own writers coming from the Caribbean, coming from Guyana, coming from Africa, coming from Black America, coming from India. So we are reading more and more of that in school. But what hasn't changed in our education is the ideological, intentional objective of the education system. What are we educating our people to become? Are we educating our people to become West Indians, to become Guyanese? Or are we just educating them to read and write? You know, I always quote my auntie, and I'm sure she represents so many aunties and so many mommies, who said, I'm sending you to school not just to read and write, but so that nobody make you a fool. And even if I didn't understand what she was saying at that time, as I grew older, I understand what she was saying. She was saying education is more than reading and writing. Education is about consciousness. And our education system has not changed in terms of the kind of nation, the kind of person we are producing. The colonials geared their education system to produce colonial subjects. They were very clear. Rule Britannia, God save the Queen. They were producing us to be subjects of England and the Queen. Unfortunately, since we have become independent, we have not changed that trajectory. We have not changed. I mean, Burnham tried and so on. But changing an education system takes more than just a political party, right? So our education system is still producing a citizen that is not conscious of his or our own historical roots, his or our own reason for being, is our own identity. That is, what do you identify with? And so we produce the cricketer. Brilliant, good skills. But that cricketer, when faced with unusual conditions, when faced with challenging conditions, has to go beyond the skill, has to go now into the deeper reaches and say that if I give it up here, 10 million West Indians, 10 million people are not going to be happy. That cricketer has to be conscious of that when he's out there. And so he or she is not going to give away that wicket. Is not going to give away that wicket so cheaply, because he or she is conscious that, you know, if I lose to England here and inviting in the colonials again, you know, if I hold my wicket for another half an hour, I am really going to make 10 million people smile tomorrow. The present day cricketer doesn't have that consciousness, you know, and I am not beating up on them, because I know we have not socialized them. And that is why I have taken it upon myself that I can't save the world. I can't even save all Guyanese. I decide that I'm going to put 75–80% of my activism to working with Black people, you know, working with Black people to get back to that state of consciousness, so that when our young people graduate from school and they step out, they become that business person, they understand that you're doing business, you're making money, but you are doing more than making money. That you are nailing a lie that people of your skin color cannot do business. All right? And so it is that void that I recognize, that I have decided that I am going to spend a lot of time trying to use the public space to give Black people that sense of being, that consciousness that they're equal to everybody, to any other group. That sense of being that they are human beings who are worth, whose dignity is worth defending. But first of all, to say to them that you all have dignity, and that dignity is important, and that when you sell that dignity, you're naked, right? So it's that recognition that the education system is not doing it, that the family, the Black family, is no longer a unit of socialization, of culture. And so therefore, when the family ain't doing it, when the school ain't doing it, when the larger community is not doing it, then those of us who have had the opportunity to look at the world, to travel the world, to read a few more books, we have to step in and begin to lay the basis again for what we used to call in the old days a renaissance. And that's what I'm about. Some people think that it's racism to do that. They're backward, of course. And some of them know that it's not racism, but they are okay with having a race of people who are devoid of culture, who are devoid of consciousness. And so they wouldn't want people like me to do what I'm doing. I am single-minded about what I'm doing, that Black people have in this era to catch themselves, as old people used to say. That is to rediscover our cultural self, to rediscover our spiritual self, to rediscover our Black self, to rediscover our dignity, to rediscover our sense of resistance, not just resistance against politicians, but resistance against evil, resistance against badness, resistance against selfishness. There's a difference between individualism and selfishness. And our foreparents knew that. And so, like I said, I can't save the world, the entire world. I can't even save the entire Guyana, no. But at least I can do something to get black people back on even keel.
Is it that dedication to of 80% of yourself to educating, enlightening, empowering, saving black people that is causing the likes of Ravi Devon, Beta Ram, and so on so much pain, as I see that they call you the memory warrior? And,
yes,
and what is this thing about the memory warrior? What is the significance of this term, memory warriors?
No, they're saying memory warriors are people who use history in a one-sided way. You know, they don't use history to tell all stories. And they say that I am using history in a one-sided way. Now, history is not one-sided. So in the first place, they're doing a disservice to history. History is never one-sided. I am because I'm not. So when I am speaking about blackness, I am also speaking about whiteness. When I speak about black subjugation, I'm speaking about white suppression. You see? So history is never one-sided. But, you know, I mean, I don't want to get into any kind of scholarly thesis with them on that because, you know, their objective is political. They are saying that what people like myself and Henry Jeffrey, Nigel Hughes, and others are doing is that we are telling Africans that their story is the only story. And of course, that is not true. We cannot talk about the African story outside of the European story, outside of the Indian story, outside of the Portuguese story, outside of the story of colonialism and slavery, and post-colonialism and post-slavery. So their intention is for us to shut up. Don't say anything to black people. Don't tell them they have a history. Don't tell them they have a culture. Now depend on them to frame black history and black culture and then give that to black people. And to say, look, I'll give you an example. They're saying, look, your parents come out of slavery and they do stupidness. They buy land and they try to feed themselves rather than buy land and try to export and make money. That's one of the things that they're trying to tell black people. So you're saying to black people, look, don't worry this stupidness about collective nothing, about village. Look after your individual self. Come to me and I gonna set you right. So that's what they want to tell African people, that your history was a mistake. So when people like myself step in and say, oh no, over my dead body, you ain't doing that, because I know that history. I'm going to tell black people the right history. They then get mad at me because I'm upsetting their plan to dominate Africans. You see, when you want to dominate people, you have to make them feel inferior. Make them feel that they're nothing. Make them feel that the fact that you don't have big business now is because something is terminally wrong with you. And not because the society framed it in a way to dispossess you. And so when I do that, then they object. Look at what President Mr. Ali did to that young man. The young man is doing his job. The young journalist. He asked him a question. Of course, Ali is not the brightest light in the room, and he's not capable of answering questions coherently. So he should not be holding press conferences because he can't mambo, right? But what he knows how to do well is to put down black people, because he's been socialized to do so. So he says to that young man, basically telling that black youngster, you're a no good. You have no ambition. That's the subtext of what that man did to that young man. And the young man coming out of a community that has not armed him with the artillery to fire back at Ali, was there helpless. Helpless. And that's what I'm saying. I am giving black people artillery that when people like Ali and them talk down to you, you fire back at them. You fire back at them. Because he's basically telling that young man, you don't get ambition. You don't get house. You don't get land. You don't get this. You come here asking me questions. You see? And that is what played out there. Now, does our elites in the society have the consciousness to recognize what play out there? No, they don't. What they see play out there is the president insulting a journalist. No, it's more than a president insulting a journalist. It's the president using his power as head of government and state to spread a cultural narrative about half of this population. And that was a moment for him to demonstrate that. And when you do that, then people like me have to say, and you want me to go talking about Marxism? You want me to go talking about class discrimination? Oh no. I have got to make sure that young people coming through the ranks are not going to be subjected to that kind of nastiness and take it without firing back at you.
And so in short, like you rightly said, it wasn't Ali just insulting a journalist, but in short, I see it as an attack on all young people first and foremost, African Guyanese specific, and an admittance, if you ask me, of the failures of the government's policies, because at age 28, the average young Guyanese has not been able to achieve any of those things.
But that's precisely the thing, Brother Kidaki. If Ali's quite happy for you framing it that way, just framing there. He's quite happy. That's an attack on young people and 20 years. No. What he says, they've come from a deep place that sees the African as lacking ambition. When you use a little by and they tell you won't get it's the worst cut you can get. And he's using the occasion of this exchange with this young man to put out there a narrative that the black youth has no ambition. You remember a year ago, somebody said black young people don't have role models?
Yes, and it came from the PPP benches.
It's the same place that it comes from. You see, this is not about young people. This is not about young people. They want us to make it about young people. They want us to make it about journalists. It is not. This is about a narrative that is saying to young black people that you go in and write GC and go in and be a journalist. That is nothing. That is pauperization. Be an individualist. Come to us. We're going to give you land. We're going to give you a house. We're going to give you this. That is what is being played out there. Mr. Ali will never speak to a young Indian like that. So this is not about young people. If it's about young people, he will speak to all young people like that. No, this is about black people. Put that in our pipes and smoke it. If we don't have that consciousness, if we don't have that lens, we are going to be missing a lot in this country. We are missing a lot. We are missing a lot in this country. A lot of attacks that are directed at black people. We are thinking that is directed at Guyanese. No. I have no doubt that Mr. Ali would put down an Indian but not in the way he's putting down black people.
Appreciate that. And when you come on that, usually there are certain agencies of state which one can turn to protection. One of them is definitely the judiciary. We've seen in the US, for example, how the government of the day uses the judiciary, I can say, through the appointment of judges that are favorable to them, to, as I would say, safeguard the actions in government and so on. Not so long ago, we heard of a move, I think, bill was tabled in the National Assembly to increase the number of judges on the benches. And just yesterday, we saw the appointment, I think, of 2 judges, 7 East Indians, or Guyanese of East Indians ancestry. I think 2 Amerindians, no, 1 Amerindian, 1 Chinese, and 1 African Guyanese, or 2 African Guyanese and 1 Chinese of Guyanese ancestry. When you see the combination of the list of judges that have been appointed, what have been your reactions? What do you see happening there?
Look, let's be straight about our story, yeah? We live in an ethnocracy. We live in a deeply divided society ethnically. It means, therefore, that when a government of one party acts, it acts not just as the government, it acts in furtherance of the objective of the ethnic group from which its support comes from. It may hide, it may mask it, but at the end of the day, it does. It may witness on behalf of the ethnic elite. In most cases, it does that. And, sometimes the ethnic masses. In a winner-take-all situation, where a party wins a majority of 1 seat and gets the entire government, it legally gets the right to do what it wants. And not to expect that it would do what it wants in an ethnically divisive way is burying our heads in the sand. And I think we black people do that a lot. We are surprised that the PPP is pro-Indian. Why are we surprised? We have a system where a party wins, it wins everything. Our voting is along ethnic lines. We vote into, or half of the population votes into office. It's ethnic party. Of course, external forces are involved and so on and so forth. And you don't expect that ethnic party to act ethnically. We are foolish not to expect that. So that the PPP is packing the court with Indian Guyanese should come as no surprise to anybody who are really honest about our politics. But because we are not honest about our politics, because we are saying we don't have a race problem, because we don't say the truth that our parties are ethnically driven, because we don't, we are then surprised when our opposite party acts in an ethnic way. And so therefore, when our party comes to power, and they don't act in a brazen ethnic way, it's okay with us. That is, it's a winner-take-all system with ethnic parties where people vote along ethnic lines. We've been trying forever to get people not to vote along ethnic lines. And it has not happened. And it will not happen. It's really foolhardy for us to think so. So here is it. We have the PPP there. I mean, I expect them to act ethnically. They would. But here is the deeper problem. Here's the deeper problem. Black people study law. Generally, in the past, Black people send their children to be lawyers and doctors. There came a time when we in the black community start saying, we gotta come out a lawyering and doctoring, and we gotta make money, or we gotta go in the gold bush, or we gotta do so. We no longer sending our young people to law school, right? And even if we want them to do law school, they make law school so expensive that it's prohibitive for poor black people. All right? So here is the story, right? Indians start going and study law. They tell me law ain't good for we, right? So they think send your picnic to study law and doctor, let them go and turn actor and actress, and let them go and do this, and let them go and do that. And Indian people start sending a picnic for study law. More than that, they can afford it. So all of a sudden, I think there are more Indian lawyers than black lawyers. That's the first problem there. That is the first problem there. There is a critical mass of Indian lawyers for the PPP to pick. I'm sure what they're going to say. They're going to say 30-something lawyers apply, 20-something of them are Indians. The pool that we pick here, while it's not representative of the society, it is representative of the applicants. So we have a deeper problem in the society. In the society, a deeper problem in the society. In that we black people are allowing our plans to be determined by external forces. It is not that we have to stop studying law and go and study business. We have to study law and business and doctor and accounting and acting. You see, but they've been able to tell us we're not good for business. We study to become teacher and doctor and lawyer, and make me feel guilty. So we bust off lying and doctoring, and so we now going to make money. I am saying that as a black race, we have to have our own plan. We have to have our own objective. We have to have our own plan as to where we want to take our society, our community. We always study law. You know why we study law? Because slavery was legal. Disenfranchisement of our people, it was legal. The law had an important role to play in our subjugation. And so therefore the law had to play an important role in our freedom. And so our foreparents sent the picnic for going to study law, not by accident. And we have to look at this society, and we have to look at our community as an African people and ask, what are our needs? We need scientists. We need oil exports. We need people who can operate the oil rigs. We need people who know the science of the oil, but we also need people who know the law of the oil. We need people who know the economics of the oil. So it's not one or the other, you see. And but because we don't have a cohesive plan of action within the black community, our black organizations are not into the business of planning for the race. So the race is reacting to external stimuli. And when you react to external stimuli, you lose your focus. You lose your focus. And so what you see playing out here is rank politics. It has to do, as you quite rightly say, that look, the court, the law, the legislature, the judicial branch is an important branch of government, has always been. The judicial branch mediates conflicts in society. The judicial branch interprets the law. It says what the law is. And It says whether the law is constitutional or not. It is a tremendously powerful branch of government. And as part of the PPP's domination, they are filling that branch of government. And they begin by doing so by encouraging their young people to go and study law. First of all, like I said, law is prohibitive. No, it's expensive to go and study law. Our black people, for the most part, are poor, you know? So, you know, that's a good excuse not to send your people to study law. Can't afford it. They're sending their children to study law because they have a long-term plan. They have a long-term plan of controlling the judiciary. And there we have it. And what we are reacting to is the symptoms of the problem. When you see so many Indian judges and so few black judges, that's a symptom of the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is that the Indian Guyanese elites have a plan to dominate this country, and they're executing that plan meticulously. And that African Guyanese do not have a plan because our elites are about themselves, their political party, and not about the race. They're always denying the race, quicker than Peter denied Christ. And in denying the race, they are denying us a long-term plan for the race. Look at what the PPP is doing. Look at what they're doing in the armed forces and the police. They recognize that Indians are never going to flock to the army and the police. But what they do is that they strategically put Indians they send them on certain courses, they come back, and they put them in the ranks. So when you look at what's going to happen in the leadership of the police force and the army for the next 20 years, it's going to be dominated by Indians because they strategically place their people there, and they play the waiting game. They play the waiting game. And I'm saying again, what you see in the news today with those judges is not the problem. It's not the problem. It's the consequence of the problem. It's the symptom of the problem. The problem is much deeper.
Is there a short, long, and medium-term fix?
My brother, I just said it. Black people, black organizations, black leaders have to start leading black people.
And that's all it takes.
No, I'm not saying that's all it takes. Please, no. You asked me if there's a quick fix, and I said there's no quick fix. One has to begin to take your race. You're living in a racialized society. Don't let people get you going off and talking about a whole bunch of other things that are important, but are not necessarily relevant to your people.
It's 8 hours. Usual time to open up the lines, but I won't do that just yet. Dr. Hines, among the calls you've made over the years with the PPP in government, undermine them, and so on. No confidence vote. Recently, you asked for no confidence vote against them, given the publication of the US sanctions and so on. I saw you recently recently I would say reiterate the importance of biometrics and other means of, I would say, ensuring a free, fair, and credible elections. Could you expound on that call for viewers? What's important? We only talk about free voters this, free voters this. Now we talk about biometrics.
All right, listen. Whether we like it or not, the Americans are here, Exxon are here. The world is in Guyana. We got plenty oil resources. And those forces are going to shape how things operate in Guyana. They have already started to do so. We are boxed into a corner where elections are the only way to legitimately change a government. There are other ways of changing governments. You can change a government by insurrection. You can change a government by armed rebellion. You can change a government with people on the road, and they stay on the road until the government falls. So there are ways of changing government, different ways. But given where we are in Guyana, our options in terms of changing government are very limited because we don't have control over those options. To believe that we have control is to fool ourselves. And so therefore, elections take on an importance that it never did before, or perhaps an importance that is only equal by the period when we first became independent. And so we have to make sure we can play around with elections. We've played around with elections in this country, in the sense that we have allowed the two major parties to fiddle with elections, you know. And so, and so when whichever party got control of the machinery, they fix it to win an election. We can't afford for that to happen anymore because we don't have any option outside of the ballot box. Some of us didn't take the ballot box very seriously back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s because it was a period, an age of revolution. You could change a government by armed resistance. You could change a government by popular insurrection. And so therefore, you know, while elections were important, you didn't pay as much attention as you should to elections. That has changed. And at this period, maybe, I'm not saying this is going to be the case forever because societies undergo change, but no, our options for changing government are limited to elections. It means, therefore, that we have to take elections seriously. It means, therefore, that rigged elections have to go. It means, therefore, that we have to make sure that the mechanisms that are put in place for credible elections. I happen to believe that the elections in 2020 was seriously interfered with. It was seriously rigged. And I think both sides, both major parties were able to point their finger to the other side. One side said, look, I see you attempting to steal the election. The other side said, prove it. And in trying to prove, the side that said, I see you attempting, exposed its ass. And we see they did more than attempt. They actually rigged the election. And that's where we are, right? We are where we have an electoral system that does not pass muster, that cannot provide free and fair elections as they are. And so the struggle for free and fair elections, in the old days we used to say free and fair elections and elections free from fear. We have to extend that now. We have to struggle with free and fair elections, elections free from fear, but we have to struggle for control of the electoral machinery, not to be in control of any single party. That is the struggle that we have now. We cannot, people will tell you, people who study elections will say that nowhere in the world do you have the perfect election. I am saying that we in Guyana have to now struggle for the, if not the perfect election, the near perfect election, because that's all we have. Other places can say, you know, we can live with elections that are not perfect because they have other options of removing governments. We do not. We have to struggle for as perfect an election as possible. And that means the machinery has to be able to pass muster. How do you know the machinery pass muster? It means that all participants have to agree that this election machinery pass muster by all of us. Only then can we begin to talk about the credible electoral machinery. We are far from that at the moment. And so therefore, biometrics will take care of vote impersonation. But you can have biometrics, you get rid of vote impersonation, which means you deny the PPP probably a seat or two because they got at least one seat through vote impersonation. You deny them of that. But you still have the question of the voters list, which is heavily bloated. You have over 200,000 extra names. And once those names are there, it's a cookie jar to dip your hand in. When the other side not watching, you dip your hand. Then the other side watch, you look straight. So they turn the back, you dip your hand. And if you have control of GCOM, you have control of the machinery, you are able to dip your hand more than the other side. If you have money to pay the gatekeepers, then they are going to turn their heads while you dip your hand. So the PPP has this enormous advantage for dipping their hands. And so therefore, the struggle for biometrics, the struggle for a clean voters list, the struggle for as impartial a GCOM staff as possible are real struggles, and they're intertwined. It's not one or the other. If you have one and you don't have the other, you're still not in business. If you have biometrics but you still have a bloated list, you're not in business. And so this is an uphill struggle. And it is not going to come by some magic. It will come when find a way to the table along with the international community to get what we need. The PPP is comfortable with the rigged system. They're comfortable with it. The opposition, understandably, are uncomfortable with it. How do you get the PPP to come to the table to agree? How do you get them? That is the question the opposition has to answer. And that struggle has to be that you have to make the PPP come to the table. And you can only make them come to the table by using the muscles that you have at your disposal inside of Guyana and using your persuasion to persuade the international forces to help you to do it. That's the only way we can get biometrics and clean voters list and all of that. We have to make the PPP give it. And you're not going to make them give it by just calling on them. You have to be able to threaten them to lose something of value. To lose something of value. And you have to be able to convince the international forces that a clean electoral machinery is in the interest of everybody, in their interest, in our interest, in everybody's interest. It means that you have to build a movement. You have to build a movement. When the PNC was fiddling with election, the PPP couldn't get the PNC to change that on their own. That was changed through a movement. At the end, there was something called the Patriotic Coalition for Democracy that included the PPP, the WPA, the DLM, all the other parties, and some trade unions. And then they were able to convince the Carter Center. And it was together, along with the objective changes that were happening in the world. The Cold War had come to an end. The Americans at the highest level were no longer interested in propping up governments. And so it was a combination of forces that led to that break in 1992. And I don't see that today. There is no movement, there's no contemporary patriotic coalition for democracy. I've preached to Aubrey Norton privately, publicly, banner. You got to use the PNC to organize a broad front that includes all the political parties in the opposition that are interested, to include some trade unions who are friendly to you, to include some business business interests that are friendly to you. You need the broadest possible movement. The international forces are not going to act until they see that you have a critical mass. And like I said, I've preached to Aubrey privately, publicly. That's the most I can do. You know, in the 1980s, the WPA had more strength than it had now, and we led that movement. We led that movement. We pulled the PPP along, and then you had some of the friendly unions, and so and we built that strong movement. We had reservations about the PPP, but we worked with them to achieve the common objective. And the PNC has to lead that movement now. And if it doesn't lead that movement, then some other entity has to step forward and lead that movement. But we are not going to get those things without the movement.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. N Square, I see you. N Square. N Square, you know that. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to comment too much on the Aubrey Norton leadership of that movement at this time. The PNC goes to Congo starting on Friday. The demographics, looking at the numbers, previously there were lots of argument that the PPP could beat the opposition hands down because it's support base, specifically Indo-Guyanese, outnumbered or form a large percentage of the Guyanese populace. I'm receiving information that has changed. There's been a great change in those numbers. Hence, the non-release of the statistics from the last census 2 years ago, I think. Does that, well, I would think that presses on the point most importantly for the need for clean voters list and biometrics to really eliminate those possibilities for fraudulent votes.
Let's cut through the chase. We don't need a census to tell us that no group has a majority. We don't need it. The thesis that because we don't have a majority, we have to reach over the aisle to get votes, it's nonsense. The PNC moved to rig elections because they knew they didn't have numbers. The PPP started to move to rig elections from 2006 because they knew that they didn't have the numbers anymore. What they're trying to tell us is that the fact that we no longer have a majority ethnic group that will democratize our elections, no. It will expose our elections to rigging because both sides are going to find ways to rig. And rigging is not just voting multiple times. The PPP shows. Rigging is vote impersonation. Is taking a 20 votes from people who work in election there in this village, another 20 from that there. The other thing, it's about dead people voting. It's about encouraging immigrants to come in, give them some benefits, and commandeering their votes. It's about ensuring that people are on the voters list who live overseas and get them to come home to vote at election time. All of that is part of the tampering with the credibility of the elections. There are about 10 ways that the PPP rigged the 2020 elections. And so, therefore, when you don't have a majority in a winner-take-all system, you are forced to manufacture the majority by stealing. And the PPP has in its hands the power of the purse strings, which it can use to manufacture votes, meaning to buy votes. Whether it's buying immigrant votes, whether it's trying to buy a couple of hundred black people vote, whether it's buying Amerindian votes, it has the money to do so. Whether it's to buy despondent Indian people vote, it has the money to do so. It has the power of the state. It has control of the leadership of the police and the army to say to black people, if you all only step out the line or don't do what we tell you all to do, you all are likely to be crushed. It has the power of the public servants. It showed that it's prepared to hammer them when they ask the government for anything. And so it was threatening to take away teachers' money during the August holidays, for example. So teachers, public servants are likely to say, oh Lord, I can't show my hand for the opposition. So there are so many ways that the PPP can manipulate the election. You have to take away that power to manipulate the election from them. That is the way you're going to get free and fair elections.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Good morning, morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 7 hours 25 on the 27th day of June in the year 2024. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. Let's do some housekeeping before we proceed. Good morning, Krishna Harilal. Have a nice day. It was nice meeting you. Goodbye. Good morning, Rahman Mohammed. You too, you're such a kind person to come visiting us. However, we cannot accommodate you this morning. Goodbye. Happy blocks, that's what I call them. Block and delete, the Jamaicans say. Morning, neighbor, morning, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you yesterday? How was you last night? What did you achieve yesterday? How much more empowered are you? How much more empowered are you? How did the rain treat you yesterday? Yesterday, I inquired about flooding, and a lot of people sent in information about flooding along the Linden Suzaik Highway in the area of Low Creek. Was that Low Creek? No, where they had that housing dispute. Housing in Linden, housing in Perique, flooding in Perique, flooding along the highway, and so on and so forth. Flooding all over the country. By now, we are accustomed to water levels rising when it rains excessively. Right? But shouldn't we also become accustomed to, shouldn't we make it a habit to prepare for when rain falls excessively? According to somebody yesterday, they have never seen that section, at least. They have never seen the Linden Suzaik Highway flooded, much less that section. But it's now flooding. There are lots of other areas where people have never seen the amount of water accumulated that they've seen in recent days. And they attribute it to the fact that the cabal has been going around the place reclaiming land. Let me call it reclaiming land, but not making the necessary preparations for ensuring that the water runs off when it comes. You see, you can reduce a large trench in width, but you can maintain its capacity by going deeper. So you can go narrower and you can go deeper. What we have happening in this society for the most part is people going narrower at the same depth. And if you do that, it means that you have lost the capacity, the drainage capacity of the particular drainage infrastructure. So more people are being flooded. I spoke several weeks ago about the mosquito infestation. Mr. Jordan spoke about it last week. I haven't seen the government doing anything about it. I haven't seen any fogging. I haven't seen any schedule for fogging these places. Daytime mosquitoes flying in your face. It's no longer nighttime business. I understand that the daytime mosquitoes are the ones that are likely to cause you dengue. Where is government? Where is the state? Where are the actors of the state? When we need them to act to safeguard the nation's health. I'm seeing Antonio Sebastian. I'm still trying to weigh his comments. Right? And sometimes, sometimes I tend to want to revisit this ignorance that these folks keep talking about, trying to make us look as though we don't know mathematics or we don't understand mathematics. You know them dance, people dance bad. Always come in and tell you what was half of 65. Some of them must have never sat in a math class to prepare for CXE. Or even some of them have never even done statistics. So they don't even understand the concepts. Right? Of midterm intervals or mid-intervals and rounding up, and what I would say, those little complex details about mathematics and how you deal with things like half a human being and half a dollar. Right? Do you know that in our school system now, at least I don't know if they have changed that, but several years ago when I checked, they were not teaching dollars and cents. They were teaching only dollars because they said Guyana had no cents. And so one would conclude that the education that they're providing for our children is a Guyana education. They can't go outside of Guyana and function effectively with that kind of education that they've been presented with on the prayer. Because in the wider world, they use cents. You want to know how educated a child is in this country? Ask them, how many cents make a dollar? Or do it the other way around. Tell them you have so many 100 cents and ask them to convert it to dollar for you. They can't tell you. As much as many of them might get 10 and 12 CXC and so on, you might be surprised. And as much as many of them are at the senior secondary schools and so on, you might be surprised to know that they can't tell you How many dollars are in 250 cents, for example? General reasoning, they lack that. All of these things, disappear on the pre and the likes. As an educator, I know what I'm saying. As a remedial education, I know what I'm saying. We have to start educating our people universally. Anyways, it's Thursday. We're supposed to have Winston Jordan in the house. But let me quickly address a few, should I say, housekeeping issues with you. We have the Kingdom Academy. Let me share it with you. Kingdom Academy presenting the reading summer camp, and the general cost is $5,000, or the board cost is $4,500 if you were to register between June 21st and 27th. All right, that means you have, well, today is the last day for early board registration, and registration costs $1,000. Good. You can call 619-7448 or visit Lot 21 Middlewalk Road, Buxton for registration. Now, I shared this information with you yesterday. And I'm a person, I tell you, when I leave the program, that's not the end of my day. Right? Well, Bonita, maybe shock treatment is a good thing. Here I am, we're talking. Yes, I told you when I leave this program in the mornings, that's not the end of my day, and Guyanese morning time or camps today. Right? Going through the comments yesterday, I saw somebody saying this summer camp, this phonics camp, is going to be held at a church. Why charge? Why charge? Sometimes we're too quick to judge. The advertisement never said, as a matter of fact, you don't even see church on this flyer. You don't even see church on the flyer. And so the advertisement didn't say that the church is hosting this reading summer camp. Right? And so how do we conclude then that it is the church? And so since it is the church, no charges should be applicable. How do we arrive at those conclusions? First and foremost, in my mind, well, from my knowledge, from my experience, perhaps the church is not hosting this reading summer camp. It might be hosted at the church, but it is not the church that's hosting it. And even if it were being hosted by the church, what is wrong with asking for value for labor, value for facilities, right? Ever so often I say to you, I don't like to discuss. I don't like to come to you and say, contribute to this, contribute to that, contribute this, contribute that. I simply most times just put the cash up there and put the Zelle there. And I might drop a hint because I'm not the type that I feel belittled, let me say, when I have to be singing in people's ears. Contribute, contribute, even share the program, share the program, share the program. You notice I don't even tell you that? Because we have to understand that life is about reciprocity. Life is about reciprocity. In physics, they say every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And in short, let me interpret that for you. Wherever you push forward is they're going to come back at you. Right? So if as in my case, I'm giving. Every day I give. Every day I give. People come and they benefit from what I give. But many persons do not see the importance of giving back. You know, it's as if you have a barrel of water and you keep sucking out from that barrel. You keep drawing water from that barrel, but you're not refilling it. Eventually, it's going to dry up. Eventually, it's going to dry up. And then you will not be able to get water. At least for a period of time, you still got to wait for it to fall back from zero. Good? Why am I saying that? I am saying that because, like I usually tell people, I use practicality to teach. I like to teach sugar cake and sweetie mathematics, for example. That's how students learn quickly, right? Real things. Every day I sit here and I do a program. You notice if I were to, let me give you an example. Watch this. That's one light off, right? And that's a floodlight. That's off. Some of you will start to tell me, Mr. Amsterdam, we ain't seeing you clearly. Right? Good. It means I have to operate with a number of lights on during the light stuff so that you get a clear view of me. It means I'm running my lights for longer hours compared to you in your homes, for example. It means that my cost, my electricity consumption cost is going to be higher than normal, higher than if I wasn't doing this program. My ordinary budget would have considered electricity cost in a normal home, a normal facility. But the fact that I do this program, it means I'm incurring more cost. Transfer that to the church. Transfer that to the church. The church has Sunday service. The church has Wednesday service. Let me see it, twice a week service. Good. Maybe it's collections and so on. Caters for the expenses incurred during those 2 days. Well, here it is. Somebody is going to be using the church for 3 days a week. For several hours. I don't think it tells us the time. 9-11. So there's about 2-3 hours. There's 6 additional hours at least per week of electricity and other use of the church's facility. How does it pay for it? Even if it were the church doing this summer camp. Right? We have to start valuing service. Service has a cost. We have to value service. And this reading summer camp that is costing $5,000, the person went on to say most of the children will come from Buxton, a depressed area perhaps. I can't remember the exact thing, but poor people or something to that extent. Good. Have we considered that the cost of this reading summer camp is woefully subsidized? I want any of you, I challenge any of you, to do research at the big fancy schools. You all know them. The ones on Sheriff Street and whatever the other streets around the city, and Parade Street and all them streets, them fancy name schools, y'all know them. I ain't about to advertise them for y'all. Go and ask them how much you're reading summer camp. The cost. And you'll find that the cost is perhaps 6 times more than what is advertised here by Kingdom Academy. Good. And so the fact is, this cost, this program here, is highly subsidized. At least from where I'm sitting, I'm seeing it's highly subsidized. And let me say this to you: I don't have, what should I say, any input into this program. I'm simply advertising it. But as it came up, the comment that was made kind of caused me to react. I won't say it was offensive, but it was revealing. And so in educating each other, I decided I will address it, because we have to start to see value in what is offered to us. And we have to be realistic in our assessments of things that are offered to us and the prices they are offered to us. Good. I think I mentioned the other day. My good friend and taxi driver, who enjoys eating at me because of the spread that he sees on his plate or his takeaway box, whatever. And he will tell you, when I encourage him to encourage others of his friends, he'll tell you, Mr. Sam, taxi drivers don't want to pay $1,500 for no food. They want $1,000 food. They're concerned more about filling their belly than the quality of what they're filling their belly with. Right? So we have to, sometimes we have to step back and really assess what we're paying for and the real value of what we're paying for. I know, because we live in a society where the government pays us starvation wages and so on. Many people are concerned with affordability, not quality. But sometimes it's better to do a little delay gratification thing and acquire enough to get quality as against affordability. Because when you go for quality, the quality usually lasts several times over that which you buy because of affordability. And so in the long run, you pay more when you look at affordability than quality. You will buy for your child for 3 terms. Sometimes you'll have to buy 3 pairs of shoes at $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 or whatever. But as we say, knock your stomach. Knock your stomach and go and buy a $20,000 shoe for your child. And you will find that shoe will last 4 terms or 5 terms. And so in the long run, it costs you less per term for shoes. But when we look at the shoe, oh God, the shoe is only $25,000. Me, I gotta buy 2 $8,000 shoe. Right? We have to consider these things. So let's be fair to each other. People are offering services. There's a cost to offering this service, and there's a value in the service. Let me just remind you of that. Right? Good. So thank you to that person who was already committed to sponsoring 3 children to attend that reading summer camp. You see, as a remedial teacher, I'll tell you this, as a remedial educator, I know the importance of reading. It is the foundation on which any child will build an education. If you can't read, you can't learn. If you cannot read, you can't learn. You can't mambo, as we say. Because you have to be able to read, to interpret, to respond. If you can't do that, you're starting at 0. And so those of you who have children, who have relatives, who have friends, with children, I encourage you to take the opportunity and send them out to the reading summer camp, especially given the fact that they have lost more than a term learning in the formal system. Mr. Jordan.
Good morning, Kidaki.
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
Well, trying to keep with the weather. I'm hoping that it holds up today because we got a very important cricket match at
Yeah.
Providence.
I try with that thing there.
Well, it doesn't involve. It doesn't listen like you. It doesn't involve the West Indies. So there's no holding of hearts.
To take away the
Sorry,
And
go
I
ahead.
got any hearts in this race.
Yeah. Oh, it says it's purely entertainment.
Purely entertainment, you know. Hopefully, it's going to be a better match than last night's match. That was a completely mismatch and wipe out. It's a very disappointing end to a David who was slaying Goliaths and then probably get a knockout punch last night. You know, Afghanistan's lost big time against the South Africans last night.
Well, I would say it was inevitable. Afghanistan was always the underdog, perhaps. I mean, I can't speak with certainty because I haven't been following a ball on the cricket match. I'm being very honest. I got so much to do when the day is done, or through the day, that even to spare a minute to watch something that I believe will end in disappointment. I resolved several years ago, I ain't gonna be watching no cricket.
No, I agree with you. No, I still up to this day, I don't really watch this at all because they are going to break your heart anyhow. You know, and they're going to find a lot of excuses, you know, and throwbacks and so forth. I really don't have that time to watch West Indies. I mean, you have every excuse people make, but when you look at other teams like Australia that have been consistent throughout the years, no matter what kind of team they bring in, even if they bring a third string team, they have these critical traits of discipline, teamwork, and so forth. You know, the traits that give success, let us say 95 out of 100, 95 times out of 100. We don't have that in the West Indies. You know, you had a decent era, and you don't know when again you're gonna have such an era. You know, in the interim, you may produce one or two really good batsmen, and every eons you can produce a really great batsman like say Lara. But other than that, you know, you can't afford to be watching teams that 95 times out of 100 may just give you one success. I agree with you. I'm not losing sleep over that at all. But I heard you this morning, your introductory remarks, and you were making some really great points, some very, very valid points. Just wanted to pick up one or two of them before I just
Go right ahead.
latched on to something I want to discuss this morning. The first one has to do, you're quite right, that they're not teaching kids about sense. And indirectly they are, but they're not relating the fact that decimals are decimal. When they're teaching the children decimals, if they're also, especially decimals in the 100, they're also teaching about cents, because 100 cents equal $1 and 100 pence equal £1. I have the good fortune of teaching, of tutoring, not teaching, but tutoring, you know, various kids at various levels, you know, whether they're grade 5, grade 6, you know, grade 9, and so on. And that is a real big problem. When I introduce sense to them, it's a big issue. They can't deal with it, you know. But it's not because it's not that we don't use sense in Guyana. Indeed, we don't have a currency called sense, but the notion of sense still exists in our laws. You know, if I buy something for $112 and you put in a 14% VAT, it comes out it will obviously comes out with a cent. You know, some sense. And the idea in the law is that you you round. Okay, anything that is 50 cents and over, you round up to the nearest dollar. And anything below that 50 cents, again, you round down. Okay, so if 112 at 14 percent comes out to something in the region of 127 point, let us say 63, then I should be paying $128, right? Because you round up. And the other thing, of course, is that you don't round up individual items. If I'm buying a series of items, okay, and the VAT is being applied, then you get the total, and it's the total that is rounded, not the individual items, because of course you know what's going to happen if you round them. If you round every individual item in the basket that you're buying, and then come to the total, and then you round the total also. So I hope people understand what I'm saying there, right? So wherever there's cents in a series of items, you add all the items with the cents, and when you get to the total, you do the rounding. Okay, so if the whole basket adds up to $1,350.76, then you should be paying $1,351. And of course, you know, given the valueless currency that we seem to have, I don't know when last you saw $1, and they'll go to say a cent, but I don't know when last we saw $1.
Can't tell you that. I don't know.
Do they still have $?
No, but I would think so. They're part of the official currency stock.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen a $1 coin in a long while, you know. And that all makes up to the whole problem, because sometimes you go to some place and the bill is $1,351, right? And you end up giving them maybe $1,375 and telling them a change. You ever had that experience?
Yes.
You know?
I usually tell them, then let me owe you.
Exactly.
How many persons have you owed for the day? They could make up for me.
And then it's when the road begins, right?
Yes. I was sharing with somebody the other day. In fact, yes, I was talking on the same program about the fact that everything the government does in terms of the cash grant and so on, they do it with cash money, and the amount of corruption and the ill-gotten gains that take place as a result of that. Because imagine when if you're distributing to 1,000 persons in cash, and every one of them is left something, the amount of things that is left at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
Let me be a little what I should say here. I don't worry the wording, but I went to PNC bingo, right? And the bingo master, the person who was calling the bingo, was a cash bingo, right? And the guy who was calling the bingo, everybody wins, he said left something, right? Now, they were over, I can't remember, let's say 100 games. Imagine everybody leaving $1,000 with him in his game, right?
Yes.
In many instances, he got more money than the people won in prizes. Any individual who could have walked away with, except the $1 million games and so on, right? The bingo master had more money than the average person winning a game.
Well, it is tantamount to the shards. The shards. You ever own a pack of cards and back use.
Well, I never own, but I know the gamble boards and stuff. Yeah, the shards collector.
That's right. The only winner is the shards marker, right? Or if you got box on, right? The only winner is the person holding the box, because they got to get something. Out of every hand that is collected. Isn't that so? 10% or something?
Yes.
So it's just a tradition in the society.
Easy money, right?
Yes. Another point you were actually raising reminded me of a TikTok influencer that I saw up to yesterday. A Guyanese of East Indian descent. It made a lot of sense, and I think I raised this issue again sometime before on this program. But it taught me I would like to quickly raise it again. He said something to this effect that many people had approached him that where are they going to get the money from to build their house? Because they eventually got through at Central House and Plant Authority, got the land, but they don't know where to turn to get the money to build the house. And he wasn't being facetious because he didn't say, well, go to a bank and so on. He said, well, he break it down to them. And I have said this before. Look, take the money that you're getting and determine where you're spending it. You write down everything that you're spending your money on. And when you look at the list of things that you are spending your money on, you decide whether all of those items are really necessary. And if they are necessary, whether the quantities in which you are buying them, whether those are necessary. And he laid out some classic cases. He talks about sending your kids to school. You don't make any snacks anymore for them at home, but instead you pack their lunch kits with all these packaged corn cores and plantain chips and you name it. I don't even remember. My kids are so grown at home. But those things cost a lot of money. They have very few in the packet. If you really open a packet of plantain chips, this must be up about 8 to 10 pieces, small pieces, and the rest is the package. The rest is the packaging and the advertising and everything else. But there's nothing in there that is going to fill the stomach of your child. But so you end up having to maybe buy 2 or 3 packs of this stuff. Then you buy what you call a soda, what they call in the United States a soda, but here we call it a soft drink. Okay, again, lots of sugar. So you're packing in a lot of sugar. It's not doing much for the child's health and nutrition. So down the road, you're going to have more money spending on bills, medical bills, and so on. So I think he was making a great point. You was just also making a great point just now. I mean, a food at $1,900. At $1,900, I don't know, when you look at it, and if you have to buy 5 foods per day as a taxi driver, that's nearly $10,000. Now, if you were to just get up in the morning and do a quick cook, I'm sure that food ultimately will cost you anywhere between maybe 800 to 1,000. So you'll be saving 900. It may sound little, but it is all adding up. And in a scenario where money is very, very scarce, whether it's at a salary level or whatever other level that you get in your income, it will all add up over time. So my entreaty to those on the program is to, if you find yourself in these circumstances, that you need to look again at your budget, what you're spending your money on, where you're spending your money on, and do like never before, some level of budgeting, and supplement your income with what can be grown within the confines of your own garden, of your own yard, or if you have access to any other open space, to do some growing there. And wherever possible, if you can afford it, to purchase in bulk, right? And bulk meaning that if it could last for if you have to buy an item that is used every day, and you can get it at a discount if you can buy it wholesale, and you have the money to buy it wholesale, then you should buy it wholesale, and save some money there. I will be the forced to admit that salaries are extremely poor in Guyana and so forth. But in the meanwhile, while we're agitating to get more, I think we ought to make better use of the little that we have so that we can accomplish the larger objectives that we're seeking.
Permit me to jump in here, Mr. Jordan, and say that, because of the low wages and salaries and so on, it's not likely that a family will be able to buy everything it needs wholesale if they stand alone. But if all families were to pool their resources, and when I say all families, I'm talking about, let's say, what we call them, a clan, right? The Amsterdams. If all them Amsterdam also were to pool their resources together and say, well, I need 10 pounds of flour, you need 10. Eventually, all right, it's a bag of flour. Let me pool the money, buy a bag of flour. We're going to spend less on it, and then we divide it among ourselves. right? So that's it's like the buying club. I think they call them the wholesale clubs.
Yes,
Let
buying clubs.
people need to
Yes.
pool their resources together and acquire the things that they need, and so it becomes cheaper per unit for them. Thank you.
Yes, and I think the third really great point that you are making also is that you talk about rather than buying 3 shoes each term at say $6,000, they can invest in knock his stomach and buy one really good shoe at 20,000. And that would have been a great point that you are making maybe 20 years ago. But these days, a $20,000 shoe might have been one that was bought at the $6,000 place. A lot of people cost the Chinese people and so on, but a lot of stuff that you go and buy at the non-Chinese stores were actually bought at the Chinese stores. So you're paying more for the same item, or you're paying more for less, or you're paying more for fake brands.
Well, you gotta be more educated. You have to be more aware.
Well, I don't know if you know. I don't know if you could tell the difference between a Gucci, a real Gucci bag and a fake Gucci bag. Can you?
No, I can't tell you. I usually don't go for brands, so I don't know nothing about brands. Anyway,
right. You understand? And so
I get a point though.
You got all of these. Listen, let me tell you something. I remember I think it's the second time when I went to the United States. I think it's somewhere around, so I think around first time, 1982, I think. And I was introduced to 14th Street, where they say everything cheap and so on, and you gone there and literally everybody selling perfume. And they will give you one, you spray a little bit on your hand and you smell it and say, what? How much for it? You got a big fancy name, all the brand names and so on. They say, what? All right, bring one. So the man gone, he said, bring a box, give you one and so on. You reach home now, you're thinking that you got the spray. He said, what me, boy? This smell went away on the travel back together. But the reality is
bait and switch. Bait and switch. Right? And Mr. Jordan, that is why I think quality control is important in this society. Society like ours. I don't know. I mean, they got the Bureau of Standards, but I don't know what standards they look into and try to upkeep. But I think quality control has a serious role to play in ensuring that consumers get what they pay for. So if we have those systems in this in here and functioning properly, then it's hardly likely that somebody can be able to buy a Chinese shoe for $2 and come and sell us for $6.
Well, the thing is that I don't know. We may have all these fancy sounding names like Bureau of Standards and so on, but I don't know to what extent they really have the training, right? And the detail that will really make them know the difference between a fake and a real, number one. I don't know if they have the number of personnel to really do the examinations, to really go around there and not wait for somebody to make a complaint to do the examination. I don't even know if they have the personnel to be on the wards to do that examination also about the quality of the goods that come in. A large number of items in this country is fake. It's fake. But we just buy it in the hope that it's real. That is what we do. You really genuinely believe that all them stores in this country that selling, for example, perfume and fragrances really and truly have the real fragrance, the real, whatever you call them, Perry Ellis and all these kinds of things. And you only realize that after you buy it and after you make a spray. And then you add to that all the other issues of non-receipt being issued and so on. You can't take it back because there's no evidence that you bought it from here and so on. And that is not something that happens by the way. That seems to be the norm in this country, where only very select stores give you a receipt and give you a very detailed receipt at that too, and not a piece of paper that it doesn't even identify the item that you bought and so on. There are lots of things that can be done that aren't being done. And all this is being done not being done under the guise of low personnel, low quality of personnel, low quality personnel due to educational standards, low quality personnel due to the salary you pay, and all these different things, all of these different things that you have, right? So all those aspects, administrative aspects, right, they have collapsed, so to speak. And that is why in the context of human resources that we have not really concentrated on. We're concentrating on goals, some goal that claims that they're giving all these people all these qualifications. And when they're done, they say, well, look, I got a master's and this postgraduate. No, you got to upgrade me. But what you're doing is, in many, many, many cases, not all, but in many, many cases, is promoting people to the height of their incompetence. Right?
But
and you've seen it all over. And don't let's just blame only the public service. Don't let's just blame only public service. The private sector is just as guilty or even guiltier than the public service, where these issues of quality of personnel and the service that they give are concerned.
I asked a question the other day, Mr. Jordan. This goal project that we are spending so much money on, the certification that comes from goal, is it marketable outside of Ghana?
I couldn't say. All I know is a highly suspicious certification, given the quality
behave as though they don't understand. And we're back. Let me see. Yes, we're back. We still have our viewership for now. So let's go. Let's see how long we're going to survive. Yes, Mr. John, you can continue.
What I appreciate the sentiment that you expressed, that the Best Buy one really good, and I still think it holds. If you can get the quality for which you're making this expensive purchase, then I believe yes. But you know, some of the kids these days, they don't want to wear one shoe that can last a whole year too, you know. So even though you may take your hard on cash and buy the $20,000 the shoe, they may make certain that it only lasts a semester or one term.
You see, I always argue, Mr. Jordan, that socialization is important. It's the most important role of the family. And if you socialize your children like that from the inception, then you're going to get that problem. But if you socialize them to understand that, listen, these things, they cost money, and the more you carry them, the longer they think, and the better we're able to provide other things to you with the money saved, then, it's likely that they will toe the line. I often use my own children as examples, right? Because from the time they're born, if you want to say, I reason with my children, so they understand the importance of certain stuff. I can't remember, but I think my daughter maybe still has her last footwear that she went to school with. She's now at university. Well, she completed first year already, maybe, I think. I can't remember. I just pay the bills now. Yeah, but, we have to socialize our children to understand the value, the importance of carrying these things. Otherwise, we allowing them to spend themselves into poverty.
Yes, it's whatever you're saying is absolutely true and so on. And it could happen if similarly you have other parents who think as such, so that the children's parents all are thinking more or less in the same way. But in these times, when ostentation trumps those values that you have been putting out in just now, it is a hard sell. It is a really, really hard sell, and don't underestimate the power of peer pressure. So, but yes, it's a discussion that could continue, and I believe it's food for thought for all those who are listening, and the message should be spread that essentially in these hard times, you have to really manage budget on a knife's edge, on a cutting edge, really, because short of getting income illegally, you have to make do with the legal ones that you're acquiring, and to make certain that you spend wisely, so that especially those big goals like owning a car or owning a house can be accomplished within the confines of whatever you wanted. Hoping that enough agitation will continue so that it will touch the hearts of the policymakers and outside of cash grants, that you could really actually get towards a living wage or get the income that you justly deserve. So yes, those were three really valid points. The issue I really wanted to touch today has to do with the fact that I think it's during this week, I saw a picture with, I think there were either two girls and a parent, it seems to be. But the two girls whose pictures weren't hidden and who weren't in school uniform, but they were definitely of school age, looking like around about 10 and 11 years or even less. They're having like these punters, when you pass by a chick board, you have the man with a whole set of money in his hand and he's waving it around the place.
Yes.
You go past chick board and say, so these two girls were in this picture. It was a still picture with this money in their hands and up in the air, And obviously, while the picture was being taken, they probably was shaking it, or they were told to shake it, as some advertisement for the Because We Care cash grant story. And I'm saying to myself, and they were all $5,000 bills, by the way. And I'm saying to myself, look what an oil-rich country has been reduced to, you know, and look what a program that is supposedly part of a safety net program. Look what it has been reduced to. But then I shouldn't have been surprised, come to think about it, because this program itself was born out of not any genuineness or so on. It was born in an era or in a situation where the then government was trying to shift opinions away from its seeming lack of democracy to something that will tug at the heartstrings of the majority of Guyanese. I don't know how many people remembered that out of the blue in 2014, at the time when I think the parliament was prorogued and there was a lot of domestic and international pressure to return parliament to normality or to call elections, that out of the blue, and I say out of the blue because there was no mention in any manifesto leading up to the 2011 elections. There was no mention between 2011 and 2014. And there was no mention in the 2014 budget of any program called Because We Care. None. But in the event, this program suddenly came out of the blue and distribution started in November of 2014. Then we heard that each child would get $10,000 and a $2,000 uniform allowance. Then we heard that the target was 172,000 school children. At that time, no consideration was given to any child attending private school. At that time also, this money was distributed in the same way it's being distributed today, except that they also involved those agencies like Western Union, because I remember vividly trying to traverse Water Street and saw a long line of people, some of them with kids. When I inquired, they said some cash grant was being distributed by, and they have to come to the Western Union. The difference is that today they have excised the use of any non-government or non-Ministry of Education distribution arm to this to the distribution of this cash grant. But that cash grant, as I said, it was meant to throw dust in the eyes of the people who were clamoring, throw their attention off for those who were clamoring for the return of democracy, for the return of the normal parliament or the proroguing of parliament. And check, it was November. So it could also have been said that it was meant to buy votes, because the elections, as you remembered, was May 2015. And that would have been roughly 6 months after this Because We Care cash grant came on the scene. And what is more, when the coalition government entered in May 2015, we saw evidence that this was a one-off program. So when you hear the continued bleatings that the coalition came in and they ended the program. The program was ended from the time it started. Because it was only meant to be a one-off. And clearly, remember, the 2014 government did not know that oil existed. The fact that oil existed was only made known in May of 2015. So what the government was actually doing was incurring a substantial expenditure in the name of purchasing sympathy and votes, which they were going to, and you know that all those kinds of expenditure always take place around the approach to elections, so to speak. But there was no intention of this program continuing because, as I indicated again, at that time there was no indication that we had oil. The announcement that oil was in Guyana in substantial quantities was made in May of 2015 after the coalition government entered power. So there was no question of ending any program. There was no longevity for that program. And even when, as we came in, we didn't bother with a temporary program, one-off program that was meant to give $10,000 to people one-off while they suffered throughout the year. I don't have to repeat the fact or repeat the details of our 5B programs. 5B program that was implemented. The boats, the bicycles, the buses, the books, the breakfast, 5 rail Bs. Not the bees that control this economy under a previous presidency, but 5 rail Bs, books, boats, bicycles, buses, breakfasts. And this wasn't done in a one-off manner. This was given throughout the year. Throughout the year. So this Because We Care cash plan was born in a situation that did not give it the prominence that it should have required. It was born in a situation that did not take account of the realities of those who are the intended beneficiaries. When you and today, even though the program has climbed to 45,000, even though it has climbed to 45,000, it is always seems now to be distributed in a way to take away from some scenario, some situation in which the government has found itself in, right? To deflect from that situation, or given in the context of food buying. Why do I say that? Look at last year's distribution of the Because We Care cash plan. Distribution started on the 5th of June, 2023. In time for local government elections. Remember?
Yes.
Right? In time for local government elections, Because We Care, so go and vote for us. So by the time August came, most people had already spent the money. Because it's obvious, they don't have the opportunity to save. Every dollar that comes to them has to be spent on something that is missing, something that is required. They don't have the opportunity to save. You give me money in June and tell me, but I must purchase school for September, or purchase books for September, or purchase footwear for September. Who's doing that? Not a significant number of people. Not for a significant number of people. They won't be doing that. Right? I don't know about you, but lights come back. Lights has come back by you.
Yeah, it's back. It's back.
So I'm gonna turn off the generator. You gonna do the same?
All right, go right there. No problem. Viewers, hold for us, please. We'll be back. The numbers are way down though, by half. Anyhow, yeah. So we're back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
All right. So yes, we're back, viewers. Those of you who stayed, thank you for your patience. Those are the vagaries of living in Guyana and being powered by a powerboat. So, Mr. John, you were saying?
Yes, so I was saying that last year the money was distributed just prior to the holding of elections, just showing again the two real clear political motives for this grant, which is on the one hand either the distribution of this grant is either to deflect, right, or to promote, essentially. And last year it was to promote because the local government elections were coming up, and the grant was distributed just prior to that, and making it very clear, very known that look, we are giving you this cash grant, all right, and if they didn't say it as much, it was say, look, because we care, right, so go vote for us, essentially. This year, of course, it's gone up to 45,000. But you know what has happened in June, right? It's being distributed, the money now in June 2024, distribution started on the 24th, which is this week. But again, hoping that we will be so conscious of the because we care that for the time being, or we are going to forget about the United States and sanctions and so forth. By the way, where has that gone? Is that still in the news?
They're still waiting for a response from the request for information from the US.
According to this, they have a long wait because they have been given a response that says, listen, channel your requests through the Attorney General's office to the Department of Justice. That is the response they have been given to their requests. So they now have to go through, the government again has to go through the Attorney General's office to the Department of Justice. And it's being said it's a long process. Okay? So maybe that is going to act in favor of the government. The so-called long process is going to be in favor of the government because while you're waiting, the sanctions will no longer be hot news. Because government inactivity could said to be due to be waiting on the Americans to send the information. Right?
It's a poker.
They have been given an excuse. But let us give them props. Don't let us just watch them. Let us give them props. After last week's program, you remember, after last week's program, that same day, I think, Ali had a press conference late in the afternoon.
Yes.
And maybe they were telling him, listen, these things were mentioned on your program this morning. So they came out right away swinging. It's for the first time we can know that everything in relation to the markets was completely stopped. Did you realize before that you didn't know a thing?
No, we didn't know. All we knew is that they pulled the banking license, as they call it.
Okay. All we knew was that not the banking license, they pulled the Cambio license.
Yeah.
The Cambio license they pulled. But we didn't know all the other things we asked about. What about the stone quarry? What about the export of gold? What about the dealer's license? Whether they are going to do a comprehensive investigation into the gold sector? Whether they are going to examine the laws? Whether they are going to examine the gold? All of these things were said at this press conference in the afternoon. So, Gaddafi, don't matter what they say. They're getting free advice. Of course, they're not going to attribute it. But don't matter. I don't think that is your intent anyhow. Your intent, obviously, is to make a difference and look at reforms. But we were sidetracked. Back to this because we care, grant. So you can see the pattern. So an otherwise useful program, otherwise beneficial program has been turned into a political handout. And I would beg the Ministry of Education to stop using our little children for political promotion and in what turns out to be political advertisement. And stop belittling the parents and guardians by putting their pictures in the papers and by seeking interviews from them on how great the Cosby Care Grant is. To stop it. Stop belittling the children because the parents and guardians. Because a lot of this is this interview, a lot of these interviews are in a sense done on a quote unquote jurist. Where parents, even though they're not forced, they themselves only are forced to say something because they just collected something. Stop it. If you want to do a political thing, yes, put your Minister of Finance there collecting his 45,000 on behalf of his child attending Queen's College.
As a parent.
That is political, that is it. Do that. He's already a politician, so you can't fault him for that. Which I will come back to in another thing just now. Now, you have to have a song and dance. This whole thing, this whole stage managed. So if you really cared for these people, are you going to put them through what you are putting these people through? You have to turn up at the school. You have to say prayers. You have to say the pledge. You have to say the national anthem. You have to have introductory remarks. You have to have speech by some politician and so forth. And the real purpose of the meeting, which is the distribution grant, that comes last. That comes last. So parents who got to be there in person, parents or guardians, have to waste time. Waste time. Where they could have to take time off from work or wherever else they got to do. Waste time to go there and go through all this song and dance before they could actually collect this money. And then, of course, here's a headline from Kaito News. Yesterday's Kaito News headline: Parents rob after collecting because we care grant. What do you expect? Isn't this to have been expected?
Of course, because it's publicized to the world when it will be paid, where it will be paid, and it is being paid in cash.
That's correct. That is correct. And you know you got all these different robberies and so on taking place. The police are already weighed down by all the murders and ganja and cocaine and that kind of thing. So that the second tier and third tier type of crimes are being allowed free roam. All the bicycle gangs snatching, choking robbers are back and so forth. And it's not one parent that was robbed. Parents were robbed. Is the Ministry of Education going to replace the monies that these parents were robbed? If they can show that they were robbed and they have made a report to the police, I beg of you, Ministry of Education, replace the people money. Because it's your foolishness.
Not under the sun, boy. You think it'll happen? You think it'll happen under the sun?
Well, let's hope that they're listening to this program and if they don't want to be further embarrassed, that they will call those people quietly and replace their money. Because what are they suggesting? That those parents who are robbed, their children will be deprived of new school supplies? Is that what they're saying? That the children must suffer? That they wouldn't go to school next term with a new shoe or whatever else the 45,000 is supposed to buy? They deliberately set about to put a political banner on a program that otherwise should have been part of the social safety net in a country where the oil monies are not trickling down. They deliberately set out to do that. Many people say the $5,000 bills were brand new. Now, I could tell you a thing or two about the printing of money. I don't print money, but I went to the printery in Canada that prints most of our money. I have an idea of the cost involved in printing money. And it will not be easy to print $9 billion, even if all coming in $5,000 bills. How different it would have been if you have this program and you genuinely want this program to help the kids through their parents, that you collect the information at the entrance of the child in the school, or for those who are already in school, you collect the additional information that includes a bank account. And I believe more than 75% of the money will then be able to be paid through a bank account. And for those where a bank is not in place, like particularly in the hinterland and rural communities, arrangements can be made through the post office. Just like when you pay pensions, for this money to be paid. No, but it has to be a political spin, a political advertisement, a humiliation of the guardians and the parents. For a program that is a one-off program, does very little to ease the funds of the situation that most of these people find themselves in. And why? And you see, it comes back to either Clive Thomas's or a variant or such variants of Clive Thomas's whole initiative of the cash transfer. Because my view has always been that while a cash transfer is important and is a necessary part of the income and should become a necessary part of the income of the inhabitants of this country, it has to be targeted. I vary a little bit from Clive Thomas in that I don't believe everybody at this particular stage of our development should be entitled to a cash grant, to income transfer of the kind that he's talking about. I believe first and foremost, even if it has to go in stages, that we must target those in need. You really think it makes for good reading and good visibility to see a minister of government whose monthly salary is in excess of 1.2 million, just his salary alone. And this has nothing to do with the minister, not attacking the minister per se. I'm saying a minister's salary. So all the ministers, all the senior ministers of the government will be earning at least 1.2 million in salary alone. And all their allowances are tax-free. All ministers' allowances are tax-free. So all the allowances, the 10 or 11 allowances that they get are tax-free. It's only salaries tax. So do you think it makes for a good image for a minister who earns $1.2 million a month to be shown collecting $45,000 cash grant because we care cash grant? And this is the anomaly that you will create when I say in Clive Thomas's thing, where everybody is given this $1.something million instead of targeting those who are really in need. And it's 90-something% maybe, or thereabout, or 80-something% of the people in this country who are really in need. A parent with 4 children at $5,000 or $180,000, that might have been the most money that parent has seen in months. And now has to decide how they are going to cut up this 180,000, right? Between household stuff and school stuff. And between June and December, because nothing else is coming in. This is a one-off for $5,000 per child. Nothing else is coming in for the rest of the year, and nothing else came in before June. And this is the unfortunate, for me, this is the unfortunate things. Where are the priorities? Is this really a because we care? Or is it a political leading up to the elections next year? It's one more of the political, and of course they said next year's vote is going to be 50,000. And since they already said the elections is going to be somewhere around November, I can see this 50,000 being given out maybe in August of next year, closer now to the elections. It's all political and not human. And this must continue to be a concern. Go ahead with your because we care cash plan for 5,000. If you divide by 12 months, that works out to be, let us be extremely generous and say it's about $3,700 per month thereabout. That's 2 Chinese food, Kidaki.
It depends on the quality of the Chinese food.
At Kidaki's kitchen, that's at least 3 food, though. At least 3 food. 3 quality food, nutritious food.
You know, Mr. Jordan, I got one of them PPP representative talking foolishness all morning. They always come with this argument that the coalition took away the 1 month bonus from the army, labeling it bribe money. You want to educate these people about the non-impact of that 1 month bonus that they were giving the soldiers?
Gladly, you know, and like I said, it's a pity that, well, I don't see your comments because of the phone and so on. But we should have had enough people on your program to attack that foolishness, because they will come with it all the time. I'm surprised they come with 200 taxes us, and we take away the because we clear grant and so on.
Yeah, they're talking the whole morning. I ain't got time with them because I know it's ignorance.
But it's total ignorance, of course. Look, first of all, these shameless people all you have how many thousands of public sector workers, and I'm using the word public sector in a broader sense to include now the security services and so on. Ask them why the government targeted a month's ago to the security sector without giving the rest of the public sector the same one month's salary. Ask them up to today why they did it. And they can't even find a valid reason for doing it. But we know why they did it. We know why they did it. For them, we could do without the nurses. We could do without the teachers. We could do without the public servants. Because in those areas, we have been able to encircle them, right, with the contractual arrangements and put in more of our kinds of people. And I'm talking here only about in ethnicity. More kinds of their political people. So we could deal with any attempts at strikes, go-slows, and whatever else. We could deal with that. But you see this security sector here? From the days of Jagan, we had a problem with them. Okay? We had a problem with them. We can't dismiss them, and we can't just say we can put them on contract. That's not going to solve the situation. So, for the time being, we are going to cultivate them. Okay? We're going to cultivate them. See to what extent we can bring as many as them on our side. So we're going to ask for them a month's bonus salary. We're going to put the cat among the pigeons. Because you know the bulk of the public sector employees, at that time when they introduced it, if the college changing more and more every day, at the time when they introduced it, was more or less of one ethnicity, the bulk of them. And you can't go swiping them out left, right, and center, like when they came in 1992 and get rid of all the ambassadors and the high commissioners and clean out all the different places. They can't do it to the entire public sector. So where we can do it, we are going to find ways. For the time being, by the way, for the time being, give them a month bonus. And you set the cat among the pigeons. Because then you're going to have this infighting. So you take the pressure off of us, the government, and let them deal with the infighting now. Because of course, if I give the security sector a month's bonus, sooner than later, the teachers are going to be at their throat. The public servants are going to be about at their throats. There's going to be some level of enmity that we ain't getting and so on. So let them deal with it. Kind of story. And in many respects, that is what developed. That is what developed subsequently. But it was never explained to the security sector that this 1 month bonus was their money, was their money, and was money that was taken from the rest of the public sector to give to them. What I mean by this, there is a category called revision of wages and salaries in the budget. It's an omnibus head. It has a huge sum of money that is used for increasing wages and salaries, paying new recruits into the public sector, right? Promotion, paying monies for people who get promoted and so on. And so at the time of budget, estimates are made for the various categories. And what you do, and when this matter came up, we were under the IMF program. So we have to get these programs signed off by the IMF. So what you will do, if you claim that 1,000 nurses are going to be added to the payroll this year, realistically maybe only 500 will be added or 400. So you have money within the IMF program that should have gone to an extra 500. Then if you said and you agree with the funding principle that the wage bill will go up by X amount, within that X amount, you say, well, listen, we can pay 5% to the general public sector instead of 7%. And we can use the savings now to pay an extra 1 month to the security sector. Because there is value in paying this 1 month to the security sector. And we all know the value of it. But it never explained, they never explained until we came in that this 1 month belonged to you. They weren't giving you anything. The 1 month belonged to you in your salary. What they did not understand that 1 month that was given them was not part of their salary and therefore could not be counted when it came to their pension. But that if instead of 5%, they got 7.5%, which means that so-called 1 month that they were giving them is now incorporated in their salary and counts towards their pension, counts towards any acting allowance that they may get if they were acting in a capacity, and so forth. counted towards the 1 month that they got for vacation allowance. Because vacation allowance is 1 month of your salary. Not 1 month of your bonus, 1 month of your salary. So I don't pay too much attention to those people. And they will come every time with it, and every time we will explain it to the people if they want to listen and they want to come. I spend endless days explaining this on the road to many people, and then they understood. Many of the security people did not understand what had happened to them. Did not understand. And we also countered it with the fact that we paid the back pay that we give every year tax-free. So that combination of they're getting their actual salary, not the contrived salary plus this 1 month bonus that they claim in, their actual salary. And that in any case, bonus is a concept that has to do, bonus is an incentive for achieving generally targets. So to tell the security sector that you're giving a bonus is an anomaly and is a bogus. What is the purpose of the bonus in the context of the security sector? What targets were set in the security sector? What targets did they achieve? So to tell the security sector that you're giving them a bonus, it's to see through exactly the purpose of giving that money. And that is why, having done all of that, we were able in a very short time and with very little resources to increase the real salaries of these people. Not the fake salaries, the real salaries. And they should be thanking us up to today for the rapid increase in their salaries in the short space of time between 2015 and 2019. Because let it not be forgotten that prior to us getting into power, there was a fixation with 5%. There was a fixation of 5%. And the teachers, I wanted to deal with teachers, but next week again, I'm going to push them back. They more than anybody else knew about 5% because they had signed a package with the government for 5% every year. And when we came in, that was still in their last year of the 5% was still there. I think they signed a package that ended, I think, in 2016. So that when we increased salaries in May 2015 by that massive amount, they found themselves at the short end of the stick because the union had signed a package with the government for 5% every year for the 5-year period. But in May 2015 alone, we had increased the minimum wage by some something, whatever percentage it was alone. And so they suddenly found themselves at the short end. But they had a caring president, they had an education president who said immediately that everybody must benefit, regardless. So teachers benefited. So yes, we didn't take away any bonus, 1 month bonus from any security. They got that bonus in their gross salary by the large increases that we gave every year in salary. And that at the end of the year, when the back pay was paid, we paid it tax-free. So people must be aware, just like how they must be aware that because we care, Grant, they didn't care one boots about anybody, except the elections that were coming up, that Ramatar was more than likely and did lose. Their no confidence motion was in retaliation for that particular one. situation that occurred in that parliament where the combined opposition had a majority. So, of the many things that happened, that was one of them. That was one of them. And of course, there was a no confidence motion that was brought to the House in that 2014 parliament that led to the proroguing of parliament and then subsequently led to this dissolution rather than facing the no confidence motion. We didn't dissolve parliament. We faced it. And as they say, the rest is history. So be it. History has to be created.
All right, Mr. Jordan. It's 8 minutes past the 9 o'clock now.
Okay. Yes, we had some trials and tribulations.
Yes, we had some trials and tribulations. If you want any, I want to wrap up. You can do just that.
I'll wrap up this because we care grant story. That listen, I'm not going to knock the transfer. Every transfer, the good Lord knows, every transfer that can be made in these times is needed. So I'm not going to knock it. I could say it can be done better, and if it will continue, they need to consider some of the issues that have been raised today, and try not to be using political advancement of the people. Try to pay this money through the banking system that will have a plus for the government in terms of bringing more monies into the banking system rather than out the system. It will reduce costs because you don't have to print all this money that you have to pay and going wrong. It will reduce security costs because now I hear not only police that are involved, but a favored security company is also being paid large sums of money as they go around the place. It will reduce thefts. It will reduce corruption and all these different stories. So continue bravely with the program, but make it a larger part of a social safety net that this country genuinely needs at this time. Have a good day, Kadaki, you and the viewers. Next week we will try again with something else.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, for your usual input. Yes, we also you heard Mr. Jordan on the economy and the things, economic things, and so I guess you're for the empowered. While we address some of these issues sometimes with the distractors and the naysayers, people continue to say, don't pay attention to them. But we have to address some of these issues in the interest of educating the populace, right? What I encourage you, the viewers, to do is not to pay attention to them, because you allow them to distract you from getting your education, right? But of course, I usually say we're adults here and we must know what is good for us. And so if you want to go tit for tat with them and allow them to distract you, that's on you, right? But when we respond to them, it's in the interest of educating. I ain't got no time to tit for tat with them, really and truly. A lot of people were blocked this morning, and I will continue down that road. A lot of people will be getting blocked. Good. I know there are many people in the country. There are lots of people who are here for Congress. Congress is supposedly, tomorrow is supposed to be the opening of Congress. It goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I know that an injunction has been filed in the name of some Collison, as reported by the Marara Waves, to stop Congress. I am still looking to see where that will go, because in my humble opinion, the courts do not necessarily have jurisdiction there. That's my thoughts. I don't know. I'm not a legal scholar. I'm not a lawyer. I have tremendous respect for Vivian Williams, who is a lawyer that has been used to file that injunction. But let's see where Congress goes. But I will continue to say this. A lot of the people who are in the leadership race, who are backroom operators supporting people who are in the leadership race, who are instigators, who are wagging the dog, as we like to say, have no love, no care, no concern for the party comrades and the constituents that support the PNC across this country. I said it before and I'm saying it again. They have no love for those people. They have love and concern for themselves and their friends. And they fight, dog fights, to get this person in power or that person in power because it is their vision that if we get somebody in power that we have control over, then we will get to, just like the PPP, enjoy the benefits. Right? Enjoy the benefits. I think it is Kemba Dramjatan who used the term control freakism. It's about control. Which person we can control as a leader? This faction can control that person as a leader, they fight for that person. This faction thinks they can control this person as a leader, they fight for that person. That other faction believe they can control that person as a leader, they fight for that person. So it's control freakism. Who can we control as leader of the PNC? Who can we have our way with? That's the people we're going to fight for. And we're going to fight right down to the wire. We don't care the impact on the supporters, the wider group of supporters, the bigger numbers. Because hear me, the bigger numbers that are being affected by all of this in fighting in the PNC and so on are not in Congress Place, you know. They're outside of Congress Place. Good? But let me zero in on this. People would have spent money to come from North America, the North American region. I think that might include Canada. People would have spent money to come from the Caribbean region. People would have spent money to come from the interior region. People would have spent money to come from wide and afar to be at Congress this weekend, starting tomorrow. Many of them would have made personal investment because I don't know that the party pays for people to come to the Congress. Good? I don't know that the party pays for people to come to the Congress, members to come to the Congress. I think members might have to find their own way. And so if on the 11th hour, when people have already made travel arrangements, bought tickets, some of them are already here. I know some of them are already here and stuff like that. And you go filing an injunction, you disrupting the Congress or the plans to Congress, you causing the Congress to postpone, etc. Have you considered the financial loss, the time loss for those people who already made their sacrifices to come and support? Huh? Then it's at 12. I'd rather you don't go down the road on this program. Because I'm seeing that, I'm envisaging that will become another mudslinging fest. Because the AFC has its Congress on Saturday. And the names of the people you're mentioning here are people who are contestants in that elections. Right? You see, it's my firm belief that it's okay to comment, it's okay to complain, it's okay to highlight certain issues. But timing is everything. Timing is everything because people interpret our actions based on time. 2 or 3 days before the ESC Congress, somebody publishes something question derogatory about the contestants. It is interpreted. It is interpreted as somebody trying to sabotage the contestants. About Morgan, I don't know what you're talking about, running two programs at the same time. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Somebody interprets it as an attempt to torpedo someone or a group or, any of the contestants. Many people ask the question, why wasn't this raised before? And so while you might be raising a genuine issue, an issue that needs genuine attention, then it just gets swept aside as somebody trying to whitemail somebody. So time is really important when we raise certain issues. Because if we raise them at the appropriate time, they will get the appropriate attention. I don't know that. Right? Good. Then is Champagne Collison. You know why I smile, right? You might as well make a disclaimer. That Collison who was filed that injunction is a family member. Right? I mean, people got similarity in names and so on. Good. But there is a saying, let the Congress be held, and the better person with their voters win. Good? That is what Denise is saying. So I would interpret that to mean she doesn't support this injunction that is filed by some other Collison. I don't know is the relationship, right? Good. But more and more you're seeing, as I want to say, an uncaring nature. The bigwigs, the elites, the well-to-do, they don't care a tree damn about the people who are really making sacrifices to support their dreams and aspirations. Yeah, what's that? To support their dreams and aspirations, because that is what poor people do. They support the dreams and aspirations of middle class and upper class people. Because for the greater part is middle class and upper class people who just run for political leadership and who just run for leading the country and so on. That answer what I'm saying? Do you? Show me on the political scenery of Ghana where an ordinary man, really, really ordinary man, maybe a Kidaki Amsterdam, a man who has come from really, really humble beginnings, was able to run for and win the presidency of this country without being grandfathered by some big shot, right? I think it would be difficult for you to show me that. But in the same way, if I ask you to show me where a well-to-do, middle-class, upper-class person has been able to run for office and win in this country, supported by the ordinary man and woman, poor people as we like to see. The evidence is out there. There's a preponderance of evidence. Good? So I'm going to say it again. Them big shot don't care about the sacrifices that the smaller man has made over the years and in recent times to support their dreams and aspirations. They're just concerned about themselves. And so I got the money, I got the wherewithal, I got the support, I got financial backing. Let's just file a damn injunction and throw the cats among the rats. Let me scatter the old Congress thing. Forget Auntie Patsy, who is saving all year to travel home for Congress because she has an interest in the growth and development of the party. And once she misses this opportunity to partake in Congress, even if Congress is called 3 months down the line, she would not have the same resources to invest to come again. No, we ain't got no time with that. Forget the masses. It's the elites, the big boys. We run things. And so that is what is playing out here again. I'm saying to you again and again and again, if you have a group of spoiled brats, I label in them. If you have a group of spoiled brats showing no care or concern for you and your inputs and your well-being, you don't have to play with them. You do not have to play with them. Put them in a corner. Put them on timeout. Look for an alternative. I've done it before and I'm doing it again. I'm offering the WPA as an alternative. But here, if you want the WPA as an alternative, you can't play in the pan or the pan. You have to come as a block. A block. All we showing we support behind WPA this time round. Maybe next time round the PNC gonna wake up and they're gonna catch themselves and they're gonna pull their act together, and so we maybe could cross back to them. But for now, all we show we support behind WPA as an alternative to what is happening at the PNC. But let's look by the end of the day, I guess, we will know whether or not Congress proceeds tomorrow as planned. Good? If Congress proceeds as planned, I'll be there at the opening ceremony. I was invited. Dr. Hines was invited too, so I expect Dr. Hines to be there. Dion Abrams should be there too. A number of us from the WPA were invited to the opening of Congress. I understand it's a usual thing. They invite people from all spheres of the society to be at the opening of Congress. So I'm likely to go down there if Congress is held. I hope they declare me persona non grata by the time Congress is held, whenever it is, tomorrow, whenever, because some people seem to believe that I'm too much in the PNC business on this Congress thing. But I say to you all the time, I'm WP, but PNC is the largest political party in this country that presumably represents the interests of African Guyanese. And since I'm African Guyanese, them is me business. Right? Them is me business. And so I have to pay some amount of interest in what is happening with my business. Good? All right, good. So I'm about to leave you. I want to tell you all this because this too is my business and y'all business. Not a single person, not a single viewer has contributed $1 to the Cash App since last week. Have a good day. But the program continues, and the program will continue, whether or not you drop $1 or $2 in the Cash App. Keep that in mind. I guess it's hard guava season, right? I'll have a good day. Love you. Tomorrow's menu, I wanted to say this because I know a lot of overseas people are in the country and they usually ask me when I will have meals and so on. Tomorrow we're doing metem with fried fish. So if you want metem with fried fish tomorrow, please place your orders today so we can cater to you. We need those orders maybe by 5-6 o'clock this afternoon. So, right? So that we can cater for you. Metem with fried fish and boiled egg. The good old time story. Good? Donna Liverpool says she doesn't know how to do it. Donna, where you are? Are you here in Ghana? Are you in the US? Where you are? If you're in Ghana, you'll have to use MMG. If you are in the US, you can use Zelle or you can use Cash App. Good? If you're in Canada, I think you will have to use, I don't know if Zelle, I don't think Zelle work, I don't know. Zelle and Cash App if they work in Canada. But if you want alternative ways of contributing to the program, you can hit me up on the same WhatsApp, 6225933, and I'll share that information with you. Good. Then his Booker one stem fish or steam fish. Then his Booker one steam fish. Of course, you can order. You can order and see what you want. Listen, Mr. I'm saying I don't want my ten, but I want my fish steam. I don't want no fried fish. Good. I want my egg poached egg. I want no hard boiled egg. Good. We cater to your needs. And just so you know, because sometimes someone of you might have the fortune of having to prepare a meal for me. I prefer steamed foods. I love steamed fish. I don't eat much chicken these days. But if I'm going to eat chicken, I prefer my chicken baked. Good? Now, don't give me all them fried, nothing and fry this and fry that and fry the other. Good? There are times that I will indulge. The times when I will indulge, but generally I like my stuff steamed. Good. Have a good day. James, I think you might be talking about something else. Have a good day. Bless your heart. See you guys. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Free Talk Friday. We're going to talk tomorrow. By then we'll know what is the end result, I think, of this, what do you call them? Injunction. Good. Let's see if we're going to get an injunctive order. I think that's the name of the thing at the end of the day. But for now, stay safe. Much love. Keep on keeping on. Do what you got to do. We got to liberate ourselves and we got to liberate this country. Bye-bye.